Before every trip we take, whether domestic or international, we make sure we have all of our favorite apps downloaded to our phones. This saves us time, it saves us money, and importantly, it saves us stress, whether during our trip or at the airport. So today we're going to share those with you.
Yeah, whether you're traveling for a month or just a week, these 11 apps will make your trip smoother, smarter, and way less stressful.
11. Yeah.
We are Kevin
And Teresa.
and this is Beyond Arrival, where we help international travelers simplify the planning and amplify the experience. If you're getting ready for a trip, make sure you're subscribed. Now let's dive into the apps we never travel without.
Number 1, TripIt. This is our organization app. We also call this our sanity app. We started with this because organization is critical when you're planning a trip. This app allows you to put everything together, your flights, your lodging, any type of excursions that you're going on, all into one magical place.
Yeah, we used to scramble through inbox folders at the airport or at the gate, or if there's a gate change. Now it's all just there instead of in different emails or text messages. Keeping it in TripIt keeps it in one unified place.
And our favorite feature possibly is that we can simply share a link with our friends and family who might want to follow us on our travels.
Yeah.
It goes step by step, day by day with every event or transit that we're making.
Now there's a pro tip with this app. You can also customize and add custom plans in there, like airport transfers or personal notes. So those non-book moments are also included in the app. And if your travel plans changes, it updates automatically.
It's the app we probably open most frequently.
I think so.
And fun fact, after our trip, you can also use that fully baked itinerary that you've added things to throughout your trip, almost like a journal. So you can reflect on everything you did, how long you spent there, and maybe reference it for future trips.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool, and we haven't seen anything better. But we can ask a question to the viewers if you have or use an itinerary app or prefer to do it old school. But please, if you have an app, let us know because we're always looking for ways to improve our travels. Number 2, this is for navigation. Google Maps is our go-to for directions and for public transit, and also saved list. Just don't forget to download offline maps before you leave, because if you don't have a data plan, there's no way you can access Google. And we've learned that through experience.
Another fun option is maps.me, and this is a great backup. It's offline maps, and that way if you happen to not have service or can't access your Google Maps for any reason, just go to maps.me and you'll have it in your back pocket as a backup. Number 3, money and currency. This is probably one of the greatest stress points for people who are traveling overseas. Yeah. We've got a couple solutions for you. And the first one we're going to start with is a debit card. So we choose to use a debit card that doesn't have any foreign transaction fees. So that what we typically do is when we get to wherever we're going, we find the safest ATM and we withdraw cash or local currency there. If you don't have one, check it out. There are several out there. You can research it and find one, but get it before you leave.
Yeah, that said, many travelers will swear by WISE. This app allows you to hold multiple currencies and you can transfer money internationally. It's especially helpful if like you're paying the rent, booking longer stays, or sending money between countries, because it does the conversion in the app for you. So you don't have to worry about doing any of those conversions, and it's up to date daily. You know, we've used it for paying rent.
That's right. I think we're in Mexico, right?
Yeah, we were in Mexico.
And we were renting from a local property manager, and they were like, just pay us with Wise. We're like,
yeah,
we can do that.
We can do that.
That's right. For quick conversions, so getting into conversions, we rely on an app called XE.
Yes.
Kevin sometimes likes to go to Google or something.
Yeah,
I don't know what
you
he
use
does.
XE more than I do.
How do you do conversions, Kevin? Yes,
No.
He does magic math. So it's really easy to use. I always have it at my fingertips. You can just enter the foreign currency in the US dollar or the Canadian dollar or whatever currency that you're trying to convert to, and it instantly shows you what the conversion is.
Now, a pro tip with XE, you might want to download that so you're not stuck trying to convert in your head or at the ATM, which can, tack on the little fees. You know exactly how much is being converted. You'll know exactly how much the fees are when you're doing that. But download it just in case you don't have the data wherever you land.
And a bonus tip, which I've just learned about recently, I think it's pretty new on newer iPhones. I haven't even checked mine. I don't have a super
I haven't tried it.
We don't have newer iPhones.
We're traveling.
So, but apparently there is a feature in your calculator on your iPhone where you can turn it into a conversion app almost. So check it out. You just choose whichever currency you want and it'll convert for you. So I'm curious, if you do happen to try this, let us know how it works for you down in the comments.
I'm curious to know if it's up to date daily.
Yeah, I wonder if they're pulling it from the internet.
But in a pinch, it can work.
So quick review, you've got your debit card, you've got Wise, and you've got XE, and as a bonus, your iPhone calculator.
Yeah, I think we're heavy with Wise and the debit card that doesn't charge any international fees.
That's right.
Number 4, apps for booking travel. So when it comes to booking flights, we start with Google Flights.
Every time.
It's our first step to compare prices, track trends, and also to set alerts. Google Flights gives you a lot of flexibility, whether you're looking for a budget airline or more convenient flight options. It even lets you filter by travel times, layovers, and nearby airports, which is perfect for finding the best deals, especially have flexibility in your schedule and flexibility in travel.
Once we've used Google Flights to identify which flight we might want, because it gives you the details of which airline, then we go directly out to the airline and book that flight directly most frequently, because then we can use the app for the airline on our phone when we're doing things like tracking our mobile boarding pass, when we are looking at gate updates, etc. So that's an additional app for whichever airline or airlines you might be using on your trip. The other bonus here is that there's a plugin. So technically this isn't an app, but it's called Points Path, which you plug in to your browser when you're using Google Flights, and it shows you any of those flights that might have points tickets available. So flying with miles, for example, it's tremendous. I've used it multiple times just to see what's out there.
So, pro tip, we always enable flight alerts on both Google Flights and the airline app. So we're never caught off guard by any last minute changes. You don't want to be that person at the airport where you have 2 minutes to get to the other side because you didn't get an alert that the gate changed.
Runners, we call them runners.
We call them the runners.
It's airport entertainment.
And so try to prevent being a runner by putting the alerts and set them on your phone and also in Google and also on the airline app.
We know this was high level, but we are going to do a deeper dive video into how to find cheap flights and how we book flights and kind of timing on those things. There's really no trick to this other than investing time and doing your homework. So we have no secret sauce, but we will share with you how we approach it in another video.
Yes.
Number 5 is a set of apps for connectivity.
Yes.
And this is a non-negotiable for us, whether we are working remotely, whether we need to contact a host at an Airbnb, or perhaps someone's jumping on a Zoom call, or we just want to call our families, or we want to call a ride share. Connectivity is everything. So before our last 3-month journey, Kevin, I swear we spent 3 months researching.
Yes, we did. We
spent
a
lot of time
a lot of legwork
on the internet, watching YouTube videos, and we finally came across what we think is the best solution for us. What was important was keeping our phone number, our U.S. phone number, and still having access to data cellular while we were overseas. So we went with Google Fi.
That's right.
Which the trick to Google Fi is that you can only use it for 3 months overseas, and then you have to ping a U.S. cell tower.
Yeah.
And you start getting notifications from Google, I don't know, a week before they're about to shut off your service.
Yes.
So your international service. So we find it was very reliable. Our last trip was the last time we used it. You do have to set it up before you leave. You cannot set this up when you're overseas. You have to actually set up your account here, right?
I think we might need to do a video just on that because Google Fi uses a electronic SIM, which is called an eSIM card, and it lets you keep your phone number. So you have the same functionality that you have in the States. Now, when we were doing our months of research, we learned that some of these eSIMs will give you data and text, but not voice.
Right.
We had to have voice, we had to have data and text, and we had to keep the same phone number. So we tested it for about maybe a month, month and a half before we left, and it was sufficient for what we needed. We needed it just to work, and it's one price, and you're done. And it's accepted in like over 250 countries.
Yeah.
So you should be okay using Google
Most
Fi,
places.
most places. Now,
Yeah.
since we have to stay connected, just in case, we had a backup of an eSIM, which is an electronic SIM, because we didn't want to buy SIM cards and we're other places. So we used an eSIM, which is an electronic SIM. You know, most people might be familiar with it. And we updated our phone that way. But just in case, we had another service called Airalo, and if Google Fi didn't work, we were going to use that in the country that we went to. We haven't needed it yet, but it's downloaded and ready just in case we run into coverage issues or go past those 90 days, which for most people, they won't go over the 90 days, but we just want it to be bulletproof just in case and have a way to stay connected.
And I think, and you can correct me, this is your department, but I think between the price of Google Fi and Airalo combined, it was still less costly than us having, say, Verizon, I'm just throwing that out there, or whatever US cellular provider, and adding on international coverage.
Yeah.
Mexico and Canada are typically covered, but anytime you're going to some other country, you're going to pay a lot of money to have international coverage.
Yeah. It was $5 per day per phone. So that's $10 a day just for us. And that was one country. I know in other countries, I think it was $10 per day. Per day.
Yeah.
So, you know, as soon as you turn on your phone, whether it's accidental or not, you get hit with that charge. So, yeah, that was non-negotiable for us. Another tool we never travel without is a VPN.
Yes.
Now, we use Surfshark. This is not sponsored by Surfshark.
No, it's not.
So if you're listening, Surfshark,
Hey, Surfshark.
we love you. But we use it to protect our data when logging into public Wi-Fi, like especially in cafes, airports, or Airbnbs. And it also helps access websites we'd normally use other places. But it gives us another layer of protection. This will let you have access to the site. You can stream certain services if you wanted to in certain countries. And it allows you to have a virtual network. So it's pretty amazing. If you're working remotely or doing any kind of online banking abroad, a VPN is pretty much a necessity to secure your data.
Yeah. Accessing your US or your country, whatever country you're from, accessing your sites from that country is really critical. And this makes it, you just choose your country and bingo bongo, there it is. You're in that country. Or
Exactly
so the
right.
internets think you are.
Yeah.
And we've even used it when we're in the US looking to see if prices for flights or lodging might be less expensive. So let's say, for example, if we were traveling to Malaysia, we would set our VPN to Malaysia and check the cost of flights and lodging while we're there, so to speak. And it's not a huge difference, but it's always worth checking. You might find a deal.
I think it's worth it.
Yeah. And the pro tip on this is do all of this before you leave.
Before you leave.
We mentioned Google Fi,
Yes.
but that would be true of Surfshark. That would be true of Airalo. Just think of it as your go pack. You need everything ready to go before you leave. You don't want to be in the middle of an airport trying to set this stuff up or
activate the service or anything like that. And I think it makes sense to just spend a week minimum just to test it. Make sure it works.
Yes.
Make sure there's no issues. Go to a cafe, go somewhere else, and just see if this works the way you want it to before you're in another country.
I think Google Fi, we had at least a month before we left.
At least a month.
Yeah, just to make sure it was working. So we use it even now when we're back in the U.S. as our primary
It's our primary
server.
service, yeah.
Yeah.
We were taking trips, calling from cars,
Right.
like in
Hello?
mountains, in areas where you don't have much coverage. We were just
Yeah.
making sure it worked, because that's a non-negotiable for us.
So quick review, it's Google Fi, it's Airalo,
Yes.
and Surfshark. Did
Yep.
I miss any?
That's it.
Okay.
Number 6, one app we never travel without is Google Translate, especially in places where English isn't the primary language or where English isn't widely spoken. We always download the app offline or get the offline package. Make sure we have it. Again, there could be data issues wherever you land. And so when we arrive, we can translate signs, we can do menus, and full conversations. There's a way you can use your phone. You take a picture of the menu or what you're trying to translate, and it'll translate it right there on your phone, even when you don't have data. But again, I highly recommend testing these apps on your phone before you travel, before you leave the country.
And I think, keep me honest here, Kev, but I think we use it most often in grocery stores.
Yes.
That would be the most frequent use for us. And it is maybe a fruit or vegetable that we don't recognize because we don't find it here in our home country, or it could be some type of packaged good where we don't recognize the ingredients. I think we were in Mexico once and there was like an oatmeal of some kind, but it turned out it had like quinoa and a bunch of other things, which was fine, but it was unrecognizable. It was a word we didn't recognize in Spanish.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if we know we want something in a store, this happened in Vietnam recently, where we were looking for jam or jelly or something, and so then you're looking on your app to find out what the word is in that language and basically showing it to the worker at the store.
Yes, that's was very
great use.
Fascinating.
So our second most frequent use for the app is healthcare visits, and this would include any, if you need to go to a pharmacy, or if you need to, we used it at the dentist.
Yes.
If you want to book an appointment, sometimes you can look up phrases that you might need to ask in WhatsApp or however you're booking that appointment. But especially when you're in person with that medical professional, and this is a place you really don't want to mess up. So let's get it right. So what is it exactly? Which part of my body are you working on today?
That's exactly right.
We love it for that purpose.
Yeah. And I think the kicker is a lot of these apps are used very differently in different countries. And most people in other countries are very comfortable using Google Translate. We'll have a conversation with somebody and we're trying our best to stumble through the language. They'll just pull out their phone, talk into it. They'll show us exactly what it translated, and it makes the conversation so much easier and the discussion so much better and faster.
Quick story. Do you remember when we were in Bacalar and we were trying to book a boat cruise on the lake?
Yes.
And the woman was so tired of us. She just took out her phone and started talking into her phone in Spanish, and then it would play back to us in English.
Yeah.
And we went back and forth like this. We're like, okay, we clearly are terrible.
Yeah, this is what we want.
Right. It worked perfectly, but I mean, sometimes the people, anyone you're talking to is going to be prepared to just, let's just use a translation app.
There's sometimes in language where slight pronunciations are very, very different. Yeah. So even if you think you know the word, it comes out very different. It has a completely different meaning. Yeah. So we think Google Translate is a must have.
Unless, and we joked about this the other day, I have several Spanish-English dictionaries, like pocket size, the next size up. And I don't think anyone's that I know of traveling with those these days. So this is lightweight because it fits right on your phone. What's our pro tip here, Kev?
I would say before, try to save a few key phrases and know some of those, like no gluten or no dairy or something like that, or how much, or like do you speak English? So you're not scrambling to try to say certain phrases when you're there. We think a go-to one is also like, where's the bathroom? Where's the restroom? Because it's different for depending on where you go. So if you can, try to get a few key phrases stocked up and ready to go and just save them there. And you don't want to always be scrambling while you're there, because it'll help lower your stress level as well.
And we always try to also do greetings. So hello, goodbye, or
thank
usually,
you.
It's good morning or good evening or whatever it might be. So
for all the Star Trek nerds, Google Translate is like a universal translator.
Okay,
we're going to move on.
We could be here all day talking about that. The other one I think we tried to learn when we were in Vietnam was yes and no.
Yes and no. Yes.
People would ask us questions. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to say yes or no. I do in Spanish because that's an easy one. But when you start getting into other languages that maybe aren't as easy to remember. So yes, no, left, right, because when you're in, your ride share and someone is asking which side of the street you might be on, it's good to have all those words. Yeah.
It turns out when you point at something behind the driver,
doesn't work.
They don't see it.
That's right.
They tend not to see that.
Number 7 is communication apps. And we have a couple of these that we want to talk about, WhatsApp and Facebook. Starting with WhatsApp, which I would say is a universal global app right now. It could change, that people use for communicating. It's encrypted end to end, which we think is safer, but we don't really know for sure. It's supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
But so when we're communicating with anyone when we're outside of the country, whether they're in that country or back in our home country, we typically use WhatsApp.
Yes.
You can use it on Wi-Fi, which is nice. And often businesses are also on WhatsApp, so communicating with them is easier. And I think the other thing is it's really nice for groups.
Yeah.
It's like a group text, but it's on WhatsApp.
Yeah. And it's really amazing how differently these apps are used in other countries. Like, we also use Facebook, but mostly to join expat groups. So when we arrive somewhere, if you want to plug into that area very quickly, you can just go to a Facebook group, and it's going to be a lot of like-minded individuals, and you can drill down to find whatever you're looking for while you're there. It gives us real-time, on-the-ground advice, whether it's like finding a local event or a restaurant, discovering some type of hidden gem that someone just visited, or connecting with, trusted and local business people in the area. That's a huge difference by using the Facebook groups, I think.
Yeah, it is interesting because a lot of businesses won't have a website. They'll have a Facebook page.
Just a Facebook page.
And so you can go out to that page, you can look at reviews, you can see what the comments might be, and communicate. In fact, when we were in Vietnam, we scheduled our dentist appointments through the Facebook app and communicated the whole time we were there over Facebook, which feels counterintuitive to me.
Dental appointments through Facebook.
That's right. But it worked swimmingly.
It worked perfectly.
Yeah, it was amazing. And we do usually set up, or I should say join the expat groups prior to
before we get there.
Yeah, so as soon as we know where we're going, we will identify those 2 or 3 groups that we want to join, and easy peasy.
Yeah.
You start lurking and learning. Lurking and learning.
We can have another channel.
That's right. Lurking and learning. That feels awkward.
Now, another pro tip is if you're traveling long term, keep an eye out for those local Facebook groups. They're often the best way to connect with people quickly and find useful recommendations. We use it so many times for restaurants or businesses or excursions. It was a really great resource.
Yeah, I also think it's a good litmus test. So if you hear about a tour or something that maybe seems too good to be true, or someone is selling you something that seems too good to be, whatever it might be, the people who live in that community full time are more than happy to tell you what's what. More than you'd probably like to know.
This can help you with like food tours or something like that, because you might see something that's super popular, or you might find a little hole in the wall, you're a little nervous about it, and you'll get raving reviews about it, amazing safety. So for those individuals that are a little concerned about eating out different places, these Facebook groups are very, very helpful.
Number 8 is transportation. We're going to talk about a couple apps. Getting around in a new city does not have to be stressful.
Yes.
We are going to talk about Grab and Uber, which are great rideshare apps depending on which part of the world you happen to be in. Grab is specific to Asia, and Uber you can find, I think, in a lot of countries, Latin America, Europe.
Very popular.
Just jump in and go. You know how to use these apps most likely. And fun fact, when you're in Asia, you can also call a scooter, which is amazing. I think it's only one of you on the scooter with the driver at a time, but they even provide helmets. So if you're willing to risk your life, go ahead and do that.
Now, Grab is also great for ordering food. Now, not only is this a rideshare, it's similar to Uber Eats, but it's maybe the Uber Eats of the region. It's great for short trips, but amazing for food delivery. You can also go shopping on there, and you pay for some in-store purchases with this app. It's amazing. Now, one of the things, I think you noticed it, we had points accumulating through the app. And I don't know how many points we have, but every time we would go to the register, they would ask us about the Grab app while we're purchasing groceries.
Yeah, it was at one particular store in Malaysia, and they were tied locally. It was the Jaya supermarket, and it was tied in with the app. So we got points So I don't know
Yeah.
what we're doing with those points, but
We have them.
time to go back to
There's a
Malaysia.
lot of them
I guess,
there.
and check it out.
You got to figure out how to use it.
Another rideshare app that we are not familiar with, but some of you may be, is Bolt. It's in Europe, I understand. Please let us know in the comments if you've used it and how it's worked for you.
Yeah. I'll say one pro tip for these travel apps is always check your local transportation apps to see if there's something better. You might get a better deal, and cities have their own apps that are cheaper than the global ones. So we found these in places like Hanoi and other
I think Mexico,
countries. I think
there
it was
was
Mexico
like
as well.
Didi,
Yeah.
and I think in Da Nang there was something called InDrive.
Yes.
We've not tried these. We've not been
We've not
brave
tried
enough,
those.
but please do let us know.
But we did have the one in Mexico that we found.
Yeah.
That one. You want to talk about that one?
No.
Rappy?
Oh, you're talking about the food app. I
Yes,
do want
the
to talk
food
about
app.
it. Okay. So, food delivery, aside from Uber Eats and Grab, different areas of the world will have potentially food delivery apps. And we
Yes.
found Rappi when we were there in 2020. It's RAPPI.
Yes,
And
exactly right.
it was a lifesaver because it was during the pandemic. All the restaurants were closed, but they were delivering food. So it was amazing to be able to
Yeah.
get whatever we wanted right at our doorstep.
Right at our door.
It was incredible. And they also would deliver from 7-Eleven or grocery stores if you needed something delivered, and they still do.
Yeah.
And that's Latin America that Rappi, I believe, is covered.
Yeah, the one thing about some of the local apps is they may or may not be translated into your language. You can use one of the apps that we mentioned earlier,
Google Translate. That's
to figure out
right.
what you want
Yeah.
to eat. But it's amazing how apps have changed the day-to-day stuff throughout those regions. Number 9, travel documents. For keeping documents secure, safe, and easily accessible, we use Google Drive. We upload scans of important documents like our passports, any visas, travel insurance, driver's license, so you can access that from anywhere. It's pretty much a lifesaver when you have to get that document very quickly, or you're dealing with lost documents and trying to prove your visa status on the go.
Yes, and we even like to go old school. Kevin will tell
Yeah.
you I'm probably the more old school person. I prefer a printed out boarding pass,
Yes.
but also I like a hard copy of all of these scanned in documents. So we have a small folder that we carry with us. Kevin
Yes.
carries with us. He's in charge of the printed documents, but it's not heavy.
It's not heavy, and it does work in a pinch.
Yeah.
Because let's say for whatever reason you can't get to it, your phone freezes, your phone goes dead. It has helped in a pinch.
Yeah, and why not have a backup of a backup?
Yeah,
It
why not?
just, you never know what situation you're going to be caught in. The other thing we'd recommend, if you happen to have different last names like we do, so
Yeah.
we're married, but we have different last names. In some countries, you may have to prove your marriage.
Yes.
And so bring your marriage license if you need to. So we have, or a copy of it, I should say. You just want to think of all of the contingencies that you need to have in place.
Now, a pro tip that
a
we
pro
think
tip.
has been very helpful is set up a folder where you keep all your travel documents, keep them organized by country or by the trip. This way, when you need them very quickly, you won't be scrambling and trying to get things from different places. They'll all be in one place and very organized and quickly accessible. That's the main thing we like, the quick accessibility.
So, question for the viewers: are you an old school hard copy? Do you get a printed boarding pass and carry copies of these documents, or do you rely solely on digital? I'm always fascinated by people who are all digital and have no hard copies of anything. It
Yes.
scares me.
I used to be the all digital, but I have converted to paper copy.
A little bit of both.
Because it does make sense to have that just in case.
What if you lose your phone?
Yeah.
I mean, really, that is everything at this point.
What if you crack the screen and it can't read? Can't see the reader.
Yeah.
There's so many things that can happen.
What if you drop it in the toilet at the airport?
Oh my gosh.
I've heard of this.
Ugh.
Gross.
Yeah.
Okay.
So have a backup.
Number 10 is experiences and excursions. We're going to talk about a couple apps that we use all the time to plan excursions once we get into a local area. While we may consider ourselves slow travelers where we like to live and just kind of hang out day to day, we also like to have excursions.
Yeah, we like to do stuff.
We absolutely do. So the two apps we lean on most frequently are Get Your Guide and It makes it super easy to filter by reviews. You can set cancellation options, and you can even do last minute bookings and communicate directly with that local guide. A couple of examples that we've planned recently were last minute food tours. A friend of mine, a new friend of ours in Dunning.
Met while traveling.
That's right. We went to a coffee workshop. I think we used Get Your Guide. So there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do through these apps.
Yeah, and here's something we've been loving. Airbnb now includes experiences.
Ooh.
So not just accommodations. You can book everything from like an art workshop. You can do a hiking trip, tours hosted by locals who know the city best. And it's a great way to meet people and get an insider view of the destination by using Airbnb experiences.
That's right. And you don't have to be staying at an Airbnb to use this.
No, you do not have to. That's a good point. Now, pro tip, booking in advance.
Please. Yes.
Please book in advance. No. These apps can save you time and stress when you land, especially if you're visiting popular tourist spots. We often book our first city or activity before we land, so we can jump right into exploring without hesitation.
And we absolutely have to mention reviews, and this is our call out to all of you to please leave reviews when you're in a local market, just to make sure that you're letting other travelers know how that experience was for you. And please be honest. I know that sometimes we hold out. We don't want to say that something wasn't perfect. But I think if you can be objective about it and be thoughtful about how you provide the review, say the good things and the things that could be improved. I know we rely on them heavily. So when we're looking to book a tour, we're always reading the reviews very carefully. And I mean, you can sniff out the ones that are just silly, but then there's some that are super helpful. So please leave reviews and use the reviews both on those apps, but also Google reviews, which
that was good.
Are super helpful.
Yeah, because this is a quick way to just do a reconnaissance if you want to go someplace or not based on the reviews. If the place has 4 reviews, that might not be the most extensive thing. But when you start to see hundreds or thousands of reviews and they're all pretty good, there's a good chance that you're going to have a fantastic experience when you go to that place or on that excursion. So finishing out the list at number 11 is lodging and accommodations. When it comes to finding a place to stay, we tend to rely on Airbnb and Agoda and Bookings.com, depending on the region, because some of these apps cover different areas. So Airbnb is our go-to for longer stays. We just like the platform. You can get a great feel for places, and when you settle into a local's home, we love the flexibility it offers to extend time. Agoda is unbeatable in Asia. Whether we're booking for a week or a month, we always check Agoda for great prices, especially in places where traditional hotels are harder to find. If we're going to stay for a longer period of time, one of the things we look for is a kitchen where we can cook and a nice sized refrigerator, more so than just the college type smaller ones. Booking.com is our choice for shorter stays and last minute trips. It has great filters for sorting through hotels, apartments, and guest houses, and we love the no payment options for many bookings. Like, you don't have to pay in advance.
But, they're all great, and depending on what part of the world you're in, you're going to find different ones are helpful. We're going to do a deeper dive into this. I know Kevin was excited to talk about refrigerators. We're going to go further into
Makes
things
a difference.
like refrigerators in another video where we talk about housing for long stays, because if you are doing slow travel, you want to be comfortable. And I don't think people talk about that enough, about how you think you're going to be out all day touring and doing things, but really if you're staying in a place for a month or longer, you're actually going to spend time at home, much like you do currently at your own home. So you want something that's comfortable. So we'll talk more about that on a future video. Yeah,
and we'll talk about the cheat codes. If you can see exactly the region you stay in using some of these apps, they will give you an overview of your actual location. And that's been a big plus for us as well.
Absolutely. So there you have it. That's our essential travel app list.
Yes.
And we've put together a downloadable guide. A link to it will be downloaded in the description. So take a moment, download it. And what's super fun is we've even included hyperlinks in that guide. So you can quickly link out to those. And remember, you want to download these before you start your trip. So make sure you get that guide and get those apps on your phones today. Please.
And now, if you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more planning tips from Beyond Arrival. We help international travelers simplify the planning and amplify the experience. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.